So it's been a bit of a wild day around here. You can see, hopefully you could see from those short video clips how high the water got up last night. I would say it was probably up past, you can see the debris, so it was up past that center post. See, we've lost a good deal of our fencing and all the animals are fine. Everybody was up in their pens out of the floodplain. It's one of the reasons we pin them up at night, is we know where the water in theory is supposed to come up to at max height. They're all up out of the water. Yeah, it's pretty devastating as far as fencing goes for us. Most of this is salvageable, but it's gonna take a lot of work for us to get it back up and going. We're out here tonight to see if we can pull up the last of these fences, just to get a little bit more rain overnight. Just don't wanna risk it if we could get these pulled up. All this stuff that's wrapped in this debris is not gonna go anywhere. They're big heavy logs and railroad ties and all kinds of stuff on top of it, so not as much of a risk for it to float away. We think we may have lost one net completely, but everything else is here as far as we can tell. This morning we got up, we literally thought it was all gone. It was all underwater and the water was really high and the creek was literally rushing through here. This will be our project for the next couple of weeks to get the fencing set back up. The girls have hay, but they are angry. So our hope is if we can get some of the nets pulled out, like these two, we can at least run some nets in this fencing for them so that they can at least get out. The charger probably is completely shot, considering it was completely underwater, but it was still charging when we came out and got it this afternoon. So we'll just kind of see what we can salvage, if it's salvageable. Fence guy did seem to think that most of the standing fence, the big fence, would be salvageable. We just have to clean the debris off, reset T-post, reclip it, and stand it back up, but it needs to happen pretty quickly so that the fence doesn't stretch out with the weight of all the debris. So we worked for about an hour and a half. We recovered the 2 nets that were out here. There's still at least 2 nets wrapped up in these trees, but we're gonna have to probably have the tractor to help us lift some of the bigger logs and limbs. We got the fence, all the fences cleared as much as we could with debris and pushed as back to standing as we could. I think this wedge will keep the girls in for now so that they don't have to be completely locked up, especially with how high the water is down through here. I don't think they'll get out. Some of the T-posts are still in the ground, but the ground is very soft. So we did let them out so they could eat. We did recover the charger, and we're pretty confident there are at least 2 nets wrapped up in these trees. The one that's wrapped up in this section, I don't know that we'll be able to get it out, but hopefully we will be able to get at least one of them out and replace the battery in the charger. But it's probably, I don't know, last year it took what, 2-3 weeks for the water to go down out here.
It's supposed to be 92 degrees next week.
And we're just have like a drought for 2 weeks. So hopefully it will go down at least so that we could reset some T-posts and kind of get the fence stood back up. It is pretty loose, but I feel like if we could get it relatively stable, maybe this winter our fence guy will have some time to come out and really shore it back up for us. This should be the last really big rain we get of the season, given it's the first week in May. Everybody's safe and happy, and they're no worse for the wear. The humans, on the other hand, are a little bit worse for the wear today. But we will check back tomorrow when it's supposed to be a little bit more sunny, and I'll do another walkthrough so that you guys can really see the fences and the debris. The railroad ties are all over there and in the trees. We have some logs from our neighbors. We think there weren't our logs, and I do think by tomorrow we'll be able to let the pigs and the boys into both paddocks, but they'll probably be up in those 2 for a while. That fence on the back side is in pretty rough shape, and if they were to stand on it, probably would just fall right over. So we gotta let the ground dry out pretty good so that we can kind of offset some T-posts that are in the ground and help the fence be more stable. Not worst case scenario. Thankful the fence is still here. Most of the nets are still here. The charger's still here. For a situation we were very unprepared for, 8.5 inches of rain. And there was like a target over the specific area that we live in. You drive, what, 1.5 miles in any direction, they got like 4 inches of rain, not 8.5. So it's a bummer, but I think we're really pleased with an hour and a half of work, what we were able to get done, and everything seems very salvageable. I don't think anything's a total loss out here, other than maybe that one fence, the one net that's wrapped up in the massive branches. But it's dark, so we're gonna go in and wash off all the mud. Okay, so it's the next day after we cleaned up the fences last night. Mr. Duke, I just forgot that you guys didn't know this, has had a bit of a hot spot on his neck from all this rain, his collar. So he's been in the garage for a couple of days with all this rain because the vet says he has to keep it dry. As an indoor pupper of indoor as he can get. Just wanted to give you guys an update on the water. So today I opened this gate this morning. So they have these two pastures, which should be plenty. This is really bad. Like, they just sink when they're walking, which is really frustrating. It will dry out when it's 90 degrees next week. Yeah. Are you guys happy you've been able to get out? Been able to get out? North-south fence on the east side, our cross fence, and then our east-west fence on the south side all took damage. So this north-south fence was fine. And then this east-west fence was fine, and anything north of this east-west fence was fine. So none of these fences, like you can see a little bit of debris on this fence, but not enough to cause any damage. So I'm sorry that you guys didn't get a video this week. I was sick on Monday. I had a really horrible migraine, and so I didn't edit, and it just like had really residual effects all week. I've not felt well all week long. I have been super, super tired with work and things. And then this all happened Wednesday night into Thursday, which meant last night we were out here working on Thursday night, which is when I normally had planned to edit a video for you guys, so you'd have at least one. Obviously, we had a bit of a natural disaster, so I had to be out here. So you can see the debris. We pulled all this off this fence last night. So we just stood here and raked the fence. There is still standing water right here. Like, I don't know how well you can see, but it's probably maybe a ½ inch deep still. So they're only like staying right in this area. So these T-posts, I think, are okay, but these like from here down are almost like completely out of the ground. You can see how the fence has stretched. So what we're gonna have to end up doing is coming back and putting new T-posts in. But you can still see like how much standing water that there is. That fence, if they were to stand on it, would probably just fall over because so many of the T-posts are completely out of the ground. So that fence really took the worst of it. There are railroad ties over there. 2 of the railroad ties are there that were completely up against the fence. We had to move. They have a new toy. This is all standing water, so they are not coming past right here, which is really fine. This is all really, really tall. We talked about it last night. Not a huge risk of getting parasites here because the grass is so tall. As it dries out, we'll be able to push the girls back out on the nets because we have to. We did take the charger completely apart last night. The battery seems to be fine. I mean, it is made to get wet. I just think it's not really made to get submerged. They're all fine. They're all happy, doing well. No concerns about babies. I know, you guys were pent up all yesterday. You were very mad. They were very upset that they were pent up yesterday. I really wanted to make sure that they got out today just because it seemed to stress them out to be pent up all day. And I'm telling you, I was watching them on the camera and those mama goats not having it with being in a small barn with those babies all day long. They were just done. They were like, get me the heck out of here, man. These children need outdoor recess. Hi, sweet princess. Why are you in here? You need to go outside and eat. You're looking better. You are, sweet precious girl. So the nets that we were able to pull out last night, so these were the nets that ran north and south, like toward the creek. And so all of our nets that ran east and west, and the one that we think we lost was the one that was the furthest out, all ended up in these trees. So you can see not a ton of like heavier stuff on this fence, but I know you guys can see that it's definitely got a bit of lean. It's gonna be manageable for the most part, and that's my goal, is to just get it like working, and then if our fence guy can come out maybe this winter, like this is all just ankle deep water. So you can see this net is wrapped around the tree. It's underneath, and then there's another net wrapped in it. It's just, there's so much water, you guys. This is insane. This net will probably be okay. Like, we'll probably be able to salvage it, but it's this net that is under all of this. Like, we're gonna have to have a tractor to lift all of that off, is my guess, to get this net out and possibly salvage it if the posts are not all just completely shattered. I think I can order a new post from Premier One. They did declare us like a disaster and emergency area, so there will be some FEMA assistance that comes to our town. FEMA assistance for everybody whose like home was damaged. So this is all wrapped up in here. So I don't know if this is like, if there are 3 nets here or 2. I know there are at least 2. There could be 3. If you were with us the last spring, we were dealing with all this like not being able to mow. This was why. Our neighbor's little barn did not flood, thank goodness, but they did get some water intrusion in their garage. Our other neighbor, they had some water intrusion. My parents, who live like 6 miles north of us, had water intrusion in their sunroom. Everyone in our area had some sort of like damage. This is how high up the creek is. It's hard to explain, but like normally there's a sandy bank over here. This is normally a pretty steep incline with rock. Obviously it's overflowed the bank. So like when you're talking about water level, the creek was halfway up the pasture. So like all of this was water. I know that was a really short clip and Jeremy was like, you need to go film. We were just so in shock that I just didn't feel like I could just like go grab my camera. I was like just trying to figure out like, am I gonna go to work today? Do I need to stay home? Do I need to be worried that the creek is gonna rise even further? But it receded probably by about lunch. So I think it was overflowed by about 3 a.m. and then by about noon. Look at that big turtle, can you guys see it? Oh, there's a bunch of them. So that was like 3 turtles. There was one over there. I don't know if those are snapping turtles. We have those like big alligator snapping turtles here. They're like huge, but it's actually like eroded some of the bank, and this is how I can tell. So when I mow, like you can see how like the grass is really long right here. Well, there's normally about a 2-foot section of really long grass. And I mowed that. Like you can see my mower blade, so it has dropped about 2 feet. All of this has fallen in, which used to be part of the bank. And so we do have quite a bit of erosion, which you can see, like, see how you can see like all this grass? There's normally not any grass on here. So this is all bank that has fallen off into the creek. There's a big rock beach here normally. Normally it's about a 6 to 8 foot drop. So the creek is up pretty high. It's moving pretty fast. I wouldn't necessarily want to be swimming in it today. I know there are not a lot of animals in this video, but like this has consumed my life for the last couple of days. Really, really scary. We knew this, and somebody commented this on my Instagram that was like, well, I mean, you live on a creek and you live in the floodplain. You knew this was a possibility. Yeah, absolutely. And it has been a possibility a couple of different times since we've lived here that the creek was gonna come up. But like our neighbor who's lived here for 20 years was like never seen it this high before. Ever, like never seen anything like that. He's never had water intrusion in his house. It always is a possibility when you live on water like we do, but there is like an expected like worst case scenario. It's flooded, this is what it looked like, and then what we experienced this week. The water did stay in the drawn floodplain, but what happened to us was like emergency flash flooding. So that was the problem, was that it was like 8 inches of water that fell in a really short amount of time. Just really crazy. It happens for sure, but like not often. The creek has overflowed a couple of times since we've lived here, and we have picked up nets, we've picked up chargers, we've done all of those things because we know that like especially this is gonna create like a mini little creek. We don't want to lose stuff or break things. It happened so fast, kind of unexpected at the intensity that it happened, and it happened in the middle of the night. It also kind of made it worse. But it still kind of is overwhelming when it happens to you, especially when you're thinking about trying to care for these guys. And the biggest priority was just that they would be safe, and they were. And they will love to eat all this debris. They will have a lot of fun. I'm so surprised that they're all the way down here. There's so much water. And you can tell Daisy's like, I am not about this. Not about it, Mom. I have this blocked up because they'll come out. But yeah, hopefully by next weekend I'll have them back out at least on 2 nets. I'm hopeful we can get at least 1 out of there. And we'll see how well these nets do after we pull them out of the trees.